Let's talk some Tony Romo. So the story is out this morning that Tony Romo is kind of retiring. Not really. Yes, he is. Wait, I'm confused. Tony Romo has been hired by CBS to replace Phil Simms as an analyst. I like Phil Simms and I know him. Feel bad for him. I like Tony Romo. Don't know him very well. I'm happy for him. So let me start with this. Tony's 37. 3 times broken collarbone. 2 times serious back fractures. He's had a ruptured disc. He's 37. Here's his injury list. If he was a longshoreman, a fireman, an oil rigger, you'd be like, dude, ever thought about landscaping? It's time. You've got young kids. It's time to retire. And you don't even get tackled if you work in an oil rig. Firemen don't get tackled. Longshoremen don't get tackled. Sometimes cops do. The point being, dude's 37. He's got young kids, 55, 75 million bucks in the bank. I'm okay with him retiring. And this also came down to Tony Romo couldn't get a single team to trade a draft pick for him. Yet he had 2 broadcast companies, this one and CBS, that showed a lot of interest. Sometimes you go with the people that show you love. I was talking to Georgia football coach, former guy got fired, but a big mistake by Georgia. They fired Mark Richt. And I was sitting there talking to him one time about recruiting. I said, do you like recruiting? He said, yeah. I said, what's the key to recruiting? He says, got to show him love. You got to make that 18-year-old from rural Georgia feel like he's the most important recruit. That's okay. It's okay sometimes to marry the person that you think truly loves you and date the person that treats you better. And in the end, here at Fox and CBS, we showed him a lot of love. And in the NFL, the Cowboys didn't show him a lot of love. And Denver and Kansas City said they weren't interested. And even bad teams like Cleveland wouldn't trade one of their 8 million draft picks. So Tony probably woke up one morning and said, I got a pile of money. I'm 37. I'm starting to look like Frankenstein with all these surgeries. I got a new kid. I don't want to limp around with him in my 40s and 50s. And the TV guys are showing me a lot more love than the football guys. I'm going to go be a broadcaster. I have absolutely no problem with that. Now, there are reports that Tony will always go back to the Cowboys if they need a quarterback. I'm not sure how to reconcile that if I'm CBS. I will tell you, here at Fox, we've done stuff with Tony. We thought he would have been a wonderful addition. We really like Tony Romo. We were not going to give him the number 1 job. That's Troy Aikman, who's fantastic. CBS was willing to replace their number 1 guy with him. How will Tony Romo be as a broadcaster? Well, I have a rule in life that I've always used. Almost nobody's great at anything. When quarterbacks get drafted, what do I always say? They'll be pretty good. Because most are pretty good. 4 guys on the planet now playing quarterback are great. 4. Most aren't great. Is Tony Romo going to be great? Maybe eventually. But Troy Aikman went to the NFL Europe for several years to practice. Troy Aikman then went into a 3-man booth where he didn't have to talk as much, little practice. Then Troy Aikman went into a booth with Joe Buck and eventually over time has become great. He really is. Chris Collinsworth bounced around on a lot of second teams. Did some college, did some pro, started a business on his own. Nobody thought he was great until about 6 years ago when he started working with Al Michaels. A lot of people that work with Al Michaels feel like they're great because Al Michaels is great too. So we got 2 guys doing NFL football analyst work that are considered great. Then there's a bunch of really good ones, average ones, and ones you'd like to replace. My gut feeling is Tony Romo, day 1, will not be great. And it is a little bit of a roll of a dice to replace your number 1 guy with somebody who's never done it before. I mean, I'd been on radio 14 years before I took my job at my former employer. I thought I was great. I wasn't. I'm better now. You listening, driving around right now, attorney, doctor, school teacher. Go 12 years ago. Are you better today? Darn right you are. I think Tony Romo may be really good, but not a lot of guys that do it are great, and it takes time. Because I've said this before on my broadcast many times. The hardest thing to do in sports is live game analysis. You have to be brilliant for 7 seconds, 209 times a game. No script. Every play is different. I think he'll be good. He'll work hard. I'm happy for him. But nobody in the NFL showed him any love. Kansas City has a loaded roster and draft picks. Wouldn't give up either. Denver's got a loaded defense and draft picks. Wouldn't give up either. Houston's going to go with Tom Savage. All righty then, we can check you off the gonna beat the Patriots on the way to the Super Bowl list. I think in the end, Tony looked at his life, looked at his health, looked at his son, looked at his wife, looked at that pile of cash, looked at the offers from the broadcasters and said, I'm going to go with the people showing me love. Good for Tony. Could not be happier. Good dude, and I think he's going to be a good broadcaster. Maybe someday, great.